The content on this channel is for educational and informational purposes only. Nothing we say or do should be considered advice. No tax, legal, accounting, investment, or any other kind of advice. Anything you invest in is at your own risk. Do your own research and consult with professionals.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Bytes Digital. I'm your host, Joseph. And today I have the absolute pleasure to have Anon Intern from the Apollo DAO team. I know everyone has been curious to hear what their favorite crypto hedge fund has been doing in the crypto space. And we now get to find out a little bit more about the next new direction for the Apollo DAO. And we also may learn a little bit about some new projects that Anon Intern personally is starting to take on. So without further ado, thank you so much, Anon, for coming onto the channel. How have you been?
Yo, what's going on, man? Yeah, no, it's great to be on here. Like I said, I know it's always a struggle to get a hold of me on the DMs, but uh, finally happy to be on. Like I said, this is the second time I was on, the original Terabytes one way back, but always good to kind of hop on and talk to you guys.
Yeah, now we're the Bytes Digital.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people are a little salty about our timing with the change of the name, but I promise you, we were in the efforts of already pivoting the image, and also just like the general brand.
yeah,
And it just had to happen at an expedited rate when we were
yeah,
starting
no,
to get
definitely.
threats for people were starting to confuse us with actually being
With the
with
main
Terra.
page, yeah.
It was kind of scary. But yeah, how's your team doing? Enough about our team. How's your team doing since the entire Terra debacle?
Yeah, no, so obviously, obviously it was a rough month for everyone there, but yeah, we decided we're definitely gonna stay together as a team, and we deployed we deployed Terra, like the Apollo Safe on Terra 2, and then we're also gonna be looking to deploy that on a few other Cosmosm chains. So I think kind of deploying our like the tools, like kind of like deploy the tools that we need to operate the war chest, and then worked on kind of getting like other types of products up after that. So we're still together. We're still working, so we're gonna continue to build stuff.
Hmm. So so you guys are building out these tools. Are there any like specific chains you guys are kind of prioritizing right now?
So right now we're gonna be putting up a governance proposal pretty soon to launch the CW3 contract onto Osmosis. So that'll be probably the first thing. Will be probably the like the Apollo Safe on Osmosis. So then we would have the Apollo Safe on Terra 2 and on Osmosis as the kind of first two steps since everything happened.
Okay. For anyone who isn't familiar with Apollo DAO, I doubt any of our viewers aren't. But this is the link will be provided in the description. This is the Apollo Safe. Noticing that you guys are on Terra Phoenix, I actually didn't remember that they went with that name. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. What are your thoughts on the name?
No, I mean it makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
That it does.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely going to be rising from some ashes.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of Luna has been burned. Uh,
Oh,
but
for sure.
but yeah, it seems like you guys are out here. You guys are functioning and working. I'm not going to dox my wallet or anything, but the Apollo Safe appears to be functioning well.
Yeah, yeah. So we're fully functional. Yeah, on Terra 2. So yeah, we needed it ourselves as well. So obviously we kind of got that up and running so that everyone could get their funds and do all that stuff. And so we kind of did that pretty much immediately when Terra 2 went up. And then now, like I said, looking to launch it on Osmosis next.
Yeah.
And more people to be able to like manage, like I said, manage like their money in a multi-sig wallet.
At this point, when it comes to launching on that new chain, I have to ask, what are the plans for kind of snapshot reimbursement? And hopefully, for the viewers at home, we'll have a little bit of a chart that comes up onto the screen so that this kind of explains what's going on with their snapshot.
Yeah. So yeah, we had a series of snapshots that we can put up and get the exact like kind of numbers and dates for you guys. But yeah, we took like a series of snapshots. I think there was around like 5 to 10 of them, and we have no plans on what chain we're gonna launch a token or when or anything like that. So we're still definitely up in the air on all of those details. But we have all the snapshot data, and we have it all stored. So everyone's record is stored with us. And then like eventually when we go to do that, we'll pull that back out, and then we can connect everyone's like basically airdrop or whatever we plan to do.
Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of just like infrastructure, just minutia. I guess you guys have to dig through because the reality is that you guys experienced a very rather weird end to, or like at least a disruption to the roadmap for Apollo.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly. Definitely, like like a few of the things we're doing now we had on the roadmap, but they just were like a lower priority just because like obviously with Apollo like at like the peak of it, Apollo had it just consumed a lot of like time and effort, so it was hard for us to really expand out from there.
mhm.
So I think that that's like one thing that we're looking at as like kind of a positive, I guess, is that we get a chance to expand our development outside of just one chain. But yeah, I think Osmosis is a really interesting chain just because it's one of like the biggest dexes in Cosmos, and obviously like as a trader myself, I always navigate like kind of just like navigate to the liquidity. So
Yeah.
you usually find like Apollo like we usually try also like most of our products are built on top of liquidity, so we're kind of obviously have to go where the liquidity goes. So it's more of like where the liquidity goes is really where we'll probably end up. Usually how I think it'll work.
Yeah, tying your destiny to osmosis is kind of interesting because, like, I know that osmosis is they're approaching the bear market with a value add that's going to be like a long term value add, and that's like
Yeah,
they want to give the experience of like a traditional crypto user who like onboards through a centralized exchange. They want to give that, but with a decentralized experience, so that you're not having to like worry about like like all these fees and all the onboarding times and all these hurdles to be able to actually start buying crypto. How do you see kind of Apollo fitting into that like whole ecosystem that like Osmosis wants to accomplish?
yeah. So definitely. So yeah, I've talked to Sunny a few times, and I've always kind of really been a fan of his work and kind of his approach. So I had been like this was before like the terror crash had happened. I had was with him in New York, and I had been talking to him about possibly doing Apollo Safe on Osmosis. So obviously after everything happened, we got in contact with them, and it was like kind of like, oh, like can we speed up the process of doing that? So well, like I was already kind of a big fan of the
Yeah,
team in that, and then like the vision of like a kind of like fully operational like centralized field, but it actually decentralized like
yeah,
that I'm also really interested in because obviously I use all these centralized exchanges for trading perpetuals and futures and all this other stuff. So like I kind of know what the experience feels like just because I'm like kind of a user of it.
yeah,
And then so I think we can bring value in terms of bringing in Apollo Safe as like an asset manager. So now you can have funds that are managed on top of this like exchange. So it would kind of be like similar to hopefully eventually being able to have like like a multi sig, but be able to trade like and use it as if it was like a centralized exchange. So a lot easier to operate and a lot easier to like kind of manage funds on the chain. So I
yeah.
think that could kind of fit into like their their kind of like what their suite they're going for, and it's kind of like a way for us to contribute there. And then yeah, we're probably gonna do that and do more of like a grant for that. And then we're looking to also start like a validator and do some auto compounding like auto compounding liquid staking validation and stuff like that. So we're kind of looking to build out like obviously like the tools to manage it, and then we'll probably start to use that validator to accumulate Osmo as like one of the like kind of like the assets through a validation is kind of like the path there.
It kind of feels like you guys are figuring out a niche of almost becoming like a new age form of like um almost like literally the hedge fund. I hate to use that word so much to describe
Yeah,
Apollo, but it's interesting that you guys are going to be plugging into this like centralized exchange feeling while being like a liquidity manager by trading, by providing probably seed round investments or something like that of the sort.
yeah,
Like you guys are going to be this new kind of age form of trading institution that's
yeah,
seamlessly integrated into a central, like a decentralized trading exchange,
yeah,
like a
exactly.
new
So
template of all.
exactly. So that's kind of our osmosis plan, and then we're also like in talks with Injective. So they obviously are kind of like the club, like like the central order book on chain.
Yeah,
And they're looking to build out mainly like a DeFi chain. Like so we're looking to also kind of launch Apollo Safe over there, and also kind of set up some maybe like like some validators. That way we can start to basically help validate the network and also like have an asset management tool so that like these funds and like these DAOs or these like groups of collectives can basically use these different financial tools but have like the multi sig to be able to use it. since like
Yeah.
we're gonna have to use this tool ourselves anyway to like manage all of these different assets, and then like I said, eventually maybe our own app chain, like once we could like eventually, but until then, like mainly
Ooh.
build on like Osmo Injective, and then I think we were also looking into like Neutron, which is like would be like similar to a Cosmwasm like hub that's like with security. So those are kind of like the options after like we finish the Osmosis part of the roadmap.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm glad that you mentioned the prospects of building your own chain, because like that's a new narrative that's kind of being painted for this like bear market. Like how are we rebuilding from this like scaling problem that we're facing in all these different chains? And I think DYDX kind of put that conversation front and center.
Hmm.
Like DYDX, like leaving Ethereum and not committing to building on an EVM there, going to Cosmos and creating your own chain is kind of like a major industry tone setting like move. What's your thoughts on DYDX coming over? They're going to kind of be. It seems like they would find a natural fit of competing with Osmosis, but it's going to be really unique to see how this like whole environment develops as far as building your own chain. You know.
Yeah, no, I think it's gonna be really good because obviously they had been doing a good amount of I think the volume on the layer two they were on, I believe. Or I know they had been doing a good amount of volume, so I think that them coming over, like one is just gonna bring some liquidity over, and then obviously like you know the Osmosis and DYDX like DYDX offers like perpetuals, whereas like Osmosis is spot, so they won't be like directly competitors too much. If anything, it's kind of nice because you could do like spot trading on Osmosis and perpetuals on DYDX. So I think that that's kind of something that'll be interesting to play out. So like they're not like they're not really in competition, but if someone was to build like perpetuals on top of Osmosis, then yeah, they would kind of they would be kind of somewhat like competing in terms of like a perpetuals product. But yeah, I think that'll actually play out really well for Cosmos just to bring in more liquidity and have a perpetuals chain.
Yeah. Okay. This is one of my questions that's kind of related to like this whole creating your own app chain and like a little bit of a complication, I guess a negative tone to building your own chain is getting stable coin liquidity like natively injected into these chains. And a lot of people are saying like DYDX is going to have to wait like a couple years for them to get their own USDC onto their chain. What
Oh
is
yeah,
your,
I mean,
yeah, go
I
for
think
it.
that the circle might have a native CW20 sooner than we'd expect, maybe.
Okay.
Just because like
Interesting.
if these bigger players are coming over and there's going to be money to be made for them, I think that getting a native CW20 or even like a native token, a native Cosmos token, USDC. So
And
I
are
don't think that's too far out.
have you lost taste in an algorithmic stablecoin?
I mean, I definitely wouldn't build it. I would definitely wouldn't use it as like the primary base asset
Yeah.
of a perpetual platform.
I think at this point, the conversation for stablecoins has really evolved, and I just don't know how much of a taste that I have for an algorithmic stablecoin, to be honest. But like, it's still there's still like a narrative in me that talks about this whole decentralized money versus non-decentralized money. Is that still in your guys' head moving forward with the roadmap?
Yeah, I mean, I think that we're definitely it's like I mean, at least me personally, I'm still interested in like the CDP model. I think like that. I think that that's a good place for right now. Something like I said, something similar to like MIM, how MIM worked,
Yeah.
but obviously a different system, like probably different parameters and like operate in a different way. So I think doing something like that, and then I think stuff like Membrane, which is like another project that someone's I think building on Osmosis, like one of my buddies, and he's doing like kind of you can mint against like LPs, so you could like mint against your vault positions and mint a stable coin against that. So I think something like that could be interesting. Like, but I don't know about like in terms of like decentralized money as like the base quote asset of an entire layer. I think that that's like a great experiment to see, but obviously it doesn't. I don't think that is like scalable in the current environment.
Yeah. That's kind of like the conclusion I've come to, is that like the way that blockchain infrastructure has been made right now, we're just not at a point ready to sustain a model that requires you to believe into the system. But like at the end of the day, all monetary systems depend on that, for you to have to believe in the system. But
Yeah,
if you
exactly.
can't onboard people to believe in the system, then you're not going to get that sustainable belief at this point.
Yeah, like I think that it had to kind of go down how it was gonna go down, and if it didn't really hit like the exit velocity, I guess,
Yeah.
or if it ever could, I guess we'll see. But yeah, I mean, like I said, I think you had to believe in it as the quote, like I said, as the quote base layer asset, and that was the way that the system worked. But I don't know if you could get people to buy in at the same level as that ever again.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy that that's what we partook in, and
Yeah,
that's what I resigned myself to join this industry into. But lesson learned. I've become much more educated on how to create systems and how to identify problems, and I'm sure you guys are in that road as well. At this point, I think we've gone through most of my questions. Do you have any other alpha you want to talk about? I know you're working on some things individually. What do you got going on?
yeah. So I definitely think like last bear market or last like kind of big downtrend, I feel like a lot of people like that were just like kind of just on Twitter, they kind of like fell off, got disconnected. So was thinking of kind of starting like a basically an office workspace, like kind of like an accelerator,
Hmm.
but based in Brooklyn. So it kind of be a bunch of like my Brooklyn friends that are like a lot of devs, and then we're talking to like maybe a bunch of like other projects that are in the area, and basically have like a co-working spot with like other just other people that are building similar stuff,
Yeah.
and have like a common space, and then also hopefully start to like invest in like kind of like a venture studio where we can incubate different founders, because a lot of the experiences that we had, like I know for like in my for like my for what I'm gonna be doing is more of like a founder advisor. So like part of like kind of co-founding Apollo, like there's a lot of things that I learned that I wish I had done differently, or different stuff like that. So kind of like trying to bring that expertise and like that experience to this. So that, and then as well as kind of like just like music, art, different like culture, different events. Like so it's kind of be kind of like I said, it's kind of like a bear market kind of project to
Yeah.
start with, like get a space, bring a bunch of like really smart, talented people, and then like kind of start building stuff out from there.
Yeah, I think that the bear markets happen for a reason. I mean, I do think that there are whale wars that occur, and they have much more control over the market than we really think. But over time, as you create sustainable economies within these new value systems, you're going to start seeing more resiliency, and these things start getting less volatile. You start seeing that diminished return, and you start seeing that
Mm.
kind of more sustainable effort. So I think building out stuff in other veins using blockchain, I think art and creative stuff is like the next wave for NFT evolution.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure. And
so
obviously, working at Apollo is a lot of DeFi, so it's
yeah,
not really the only thing I'm. It's not really the only thing I'm interested in. Like obviously, I love trading and I love DeFi, but I do enjoy just like other types of technology too. So I think that like kind of get in this space, and like I said most of Apollo like was in like a virtual hackathon. So I
yeah,
think that was like, and then I started traveling like to all these different events, and I went to like 12 or 13 events like in the past year, and
yeah,
like I kind of just like was like, oh, it's kind of nice to like once in a while like be like have like a week where you're just like surrounded by it. And so I was like, all right, maybe like this is the kind of a better experience for the bear market, is to like create this environment to like continue to build, and kind of more ignore the price a little bit there. You know what I mean? Like less trading, more
yeah.
building there. But
I think you're in the peak of the bear market when you just check the chart like passively weekly.
yeah, I mean, you know
And
me, I check it like every 30 seconds.
you need to take a break, man. You need to step away, drop the
I
phone.
know. I know,
Um,
dude.
all
I
right.
can't stop, man. When you're on the streak, dude, you gotta just keep it rolling.
All right. Well, that's all I've got here for today. Do you have any other alpha you want to share? Anything coming up specifically you want to shout out for anyone who's interested in Apollo DAO or Anon intern as a person?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously, if anyone's based in like New York City, specifically like Brooklyn or Lower Manhattan area, and you're interested in kind of like I said, having like a co-working space, something like that, definitely like reach out to me. And then for Apollo, look for us to, like I said, launch a few products on Osmosis, and then towards Injective, and then possibly like Neutron and maybe some Cosmos validators. So we're definitely still building and have kind of like a pretty full roadmap, and like the whole team is sticking around, and we're kind of tough it out during the tough times. And like I said, so kind of a combination of building Apollo as well as building like something more like off chain, like something more like I guess real life. So like kind of building those two in tangent.
Yeah.
That's kind of my plan for the next few years, hopefully.
Okay, sick. I'm sure you're still going to be around. I think one of my favorite tweets that I saw you put out there was like, "We're at the point in the market cycle where you have to be a cockroach. The cockroaches make it to the next."
Yeah, yeah.
So
That's,
I think we're all in that mentality at this
yeah.
point.
That's the
But
Degen Spartan. Degen Spartan, I think it was where I originally saw that tweet. He said
that,
something like that. Yeah, of
I,
course.
I really I really identified with that feeling at this point.
Oh yeah. I mean, like I said, at this point, it's kind of like capital preservation, and then if you kind of like really want to like get into the charts, then all right, do it. But if not, just kind of like I said, I'm not. You don't want to like spend your whole life doing it. Sometimes
Yeah. All right.
I definitely do, but
All right. Well, I think that's going to take us out for the day. If anyone at home wants to keep up with what's going on with Apollo DAO, be sure to head on over to their Twitter at Apollo DAO. I'm sure you guys are going to release all of the updates as things happen on your Twitter. You guys are pretty good about that. One of the few
yeah,
protocols in Terra that I knew, like I reliably knew you guys had like a weekly report.
yeah. We're
So,
hoping to start the Twitter Spaces up again too, to keep people like to kind of do more updates on that too.
okay, when are those Twitter spaces going to be held?
We're not sure yet. We're actually have a meeting later today about getting those
Okay.
back up and running. So hopefully we'll be able to get back up and running with like kind of like an update Twitter Space again.
Okay. All right, everyone. So be sure to be on the lookout on their Twitter for their Twitter spaces that are going to be starting up pretty soon. We'll have a link to their Twitter in the description below. But yeah, so that's going to take care of it. Thank you so much, Anon, for coming on to the channel. I really appreciated the updates. I'm glad to hear that the team is moving forward and that somehow we have managed to stay around and actually have this interview and have something to talk about.
Yeah,
So it's
we both made it, right?
We both made it. It's a miracle. It's a miracle.
Yeah, yeah.
And the only reason why I made it is because the people that are watching this video, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button, like, comment, let us know what you think Apollo should do. Is Anon Intern a terrible co-founder? Please let us know. We'll see what we can do to help Apollo on their journey. Take care, everyone. We'll see you in the next Bytes Digital video.